Hi, this is Manuel, and I'm here to demonstrate the compiler I built for Algol-like language. This compiler uses lex and jack to transform the input into a machine language code. It also uses C for the symbol table to print the intermediate languages. To run this program, I'm going to start by creating an executable. And then I'm gonna use this file called test.al to test my language. I'm gonna start by providing a simple example, the classic hello world, and I'm gonna run my executable giving this file as a parameter. As you can see, there are no errors. So the result of this is this secondary file, which is the MIPS code for the test.alt code that I just provided. The problem with this program is that it's not easy to see what is happening here, so I'm gonna rely on this executable, this compiler, to run it and test if this code is produced properly or not. To do so, I'm gonna run it, and here you have the output. But to test it a little bit further, I'm actually gonna grab a code that I have already made, a little bit more complex, that demonstrates some of the capabilities of this language, which includes the use of global variables, arrays, interfaces. There's validation, whereas the interface is built or not implemented. For instance, I just deleted the implementation, so if I try to run it, you can see there's an error in line 17 because the function, the name is not implemented. Let's try again. Now, yes, this is the error I'm looking for. It says that the prototype, which is this one, the interface was declared, but it was never implemented. So I'm gonna bring it back. Other thing is that it checks for the agreement of parameters and arguments. It allows outputs and inputs, uses different data types like Boolean, void, integer, and strings is mostly for outputs. It accepts Boolean comparisons and function calls. Particularly, what this program does is to call F1, which is a supportive function, is this one right here, that also calls a secondary function F2. As you can imagine, the function F2 calls the interface. This is just a little test combining different characteristics of the language to test its capabilities. So I'm gonna pass this as an argument to my executable. And let's see now the test.asm file that got produced. This is, remember, the MIPS code produced by my compiler. And the strings to begin with get in the as global variables. Then you can see all the variables are being implemented here. The function calls, this is all the code that was required, produced by the compiler. Some labels that we see here and there. And now if we test it, first we see that the MIPS code that was produced is valid because we get a good output. And this is basically what the code does, which is just indicating where we are in each function. Function 2, then we are in the interface. It prints the parameters just to test that the parameters are being passed properly, that there's an agreement with them. And then it just indicates when we are back and getting out of each one of the stages until we reach back to main. And this is everything.